Alright, so section 7.2 is graphing linear equations. And the first way we're going to do this here, guys, it says complete the ordered pairs so that each is a given solution to the linear equation. Then use the ordered pairs to graph the line, okay? So I'm going to grab my pen here. And I want you to notice this is kind of similar to what we were doing in towards the end of section 7.1, okay? So here's my line. Here's the equation that we already have, okay? I'm going to do this in pieces, guys, okay? So let me kind of scroll a little bit here. All right, so I'm going to do this in pieces. I'm going to say my part A, I know that the x number is 0, okay? So I know that x is 0. We're going to see if we can figure out what y is. So we're just going to write y equals. So I'm using that equation. X is 0 minus 4. So 0 minus 4, guys, is just the number negative 4. So right here, I'm going to write in the number negative 4. Okay. I'm going to do this a second time, part B. Part B, we have the number 2, comma, a blank, right? So I know that the number x is equal to 2. So I'm going to write out my equation, y equals x minus 4. I'm going to write y equals 2 minus 4. Okay? Well, 2 minus 4 is the number negative 2. So right here, I'm going to write in the number negative 2. Okay? And I'm going to do this a third time, part C. Part C, the point we have is 4, comma, blank, right? So we know that our x number is 4. Okay? So I'm going to write out y equals x, which we already know is 4, minus 4. And we know that 4 minus 4 is 0. So right here, I'm going to write in the number 0. So again, just to think about it, I can do them here too. Let's see, we got a negative 4, right? So I can put a negative 4 there. We got a negative 2 here, and we got a 0 here. Guys, all we're going to do now, we're just going to plot our points, okay? So look, let's take a look at the first one. 0, negative 4. Remember, I always start in the middle. And if my first number is 0, that means I'm not going to move to the left, I'm not going to move to the right, but I am going to go down to the number negative 4. So there's my first point, okay? The second point we have is 2, comma, negative 2. So remember, the first number being 2 means I'm going to go 2 to the right. The second number being negative 2 means I'm going to go 2 down. Do that point right there. Okay? And the last point is the point 4, comma, 0. So I'm going to go right to the 4. And then since the second number is 0, I'm going to stay right there. Guys, all I'm going to do now, I'm going to try to do this. I'm doing it freehand. I'm trying to make it look as pretty as possible. I got to say that's pretty cute. And there's the line that we have. Okay? So all we did is take each of those numbers, plug them in, find the y numbers, and then we plotted our points and we're able to draw our line. Okay? So let me kind of scroll to the next problem. Let's see if we can do the same thing here for this one. Okay? Grab my pen again. Okay? And guys, I'm going to do this, like I said, in 3 parts. So number 1, here's the equation that we have, right? So if I were to think about this, my part A, we know the first number is 0. We don't know the second number. That's just telling me that the number x is 0. So I'm going to write out y equals negative 2 times 0 plus 1. Well, negative 2 times 0 is 0. And 0 plus 1 is still 1. So that number is going to be a 1. And that number is going to be a 1. Okay? I'm going to do this all over again, part B. Part B, I know that my x number is the number negative 2, because the point we have is negative 2, comma, blank. Okay? So I'm going to write out my equation. Y equals negative 2 times x, which is also negative 2, okay, plus 1. So let's see. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Positive 4 plus 1 is a 5. So it's telling me that number right there is a 5. That number right there is a 5. Okay? Now I'm going to do this a third time, part C. My number x is 1 because I have the point 1, comma, blank, right? So I'm going to write out my equation again. Y equals negative 2 times x, which is 1, okay, plus 1. So y equals negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And negative 2 plus 1 is the number negative 1. That's a negative 1. That's a negative 1. All right. So now, let me go ahead and see if I can plot my points. The first point we have is the point 0 and 1. So remember, I'm going to start here in the middle. Since my first number is 0, I'm not going up, I'm not going down. I'm not going to the left, I'm not going to the right. Since my second number is a 1, I am going up to 1. Okay. Second point, negative 2 comma 5. So remember, I'm going to go left 2, and then I go all the way up to the number 5. And then my third point, 1 comma negative 1. So I'm going to go 1 to the right, 1 down. Okay. And now I'm going to try to draw my line. I'm going to try to draw it because I'm doing this freehand. So I'm going to try to draw it as nice, as neat as I can to kind of get my straight line, get cute. Right? And there's the equation, or here's the graph of my line, right? So look, there's one point, there's the other point, and there's the other point, right? Alrighty. So let me scroll down, see what we got for the next problem here. Okay. So I want you to notice the directions on this one. It says, graph each equation by plotting 3 points and connecting them. What's different from this problem compared to the one we just did, or the one we did earlier, notice they didn't even give us the initial parts of our point, okay? But that's no big deal. Because what we're going to do, we're going to pick our points, okay? So guys, look, we can always keep this easy. The numbers we pick, we're always going to pick numbers for the letter X, okay? So how about if we say, look, let's let the first one X be 0, okay? And then we'll find the second part. And then the second one, let's say, let's X be 1, right? And then we'll find the second part. And because I don't want us to forget about negative numbers, how about if we pick something like, oh, I don't know, negative 1, okay? And then we'll find the second part. The numbers that you pick, you can pick any numbers you want. You want to pick 17, you can pick 17, but think about what that would mean. That would mean that the X number is 17. Well, look, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, 17 would be all the way out here, right? So I'm just picking numbers that I know are easy for me to pick. They're going to be easy numbers to plug in, okay? So guys, I'm going to do this again 3 times, right? Look, I'm going to go like this. Here's my part A. In my part A, we chose X to be 0, because we said we're going to find the point 0, comma, whatever. Here's my equation. Y equals negative 3 times 0 plus 2. Well, negative 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. So that's telling you this number is going to be 2, that number is going to be 2. So again, guys, remember, those numbers that we picked, the 0, 1, negative 1, we could have picked any numbers. You can always pick any numbers you want. I always just try to pick numbers that I think are going to be easy. Okay? Look at the second time. The number we picked was when X was 1. So we're going to fill in the blanks for 1, comma, whatever that's going to be. So I'm going to write out my equation. Y equals negative 3 times 1 plus 2. So let's see. Negative 3 times 1 is a negative 3. Negative 3 plus 2 is the number negative 1. So that's a negative 1, and that's a negative 1. Okay. Now I've got to do this one more time for part C. Okay. Excuse me. So my part C here, X is equal to a negative 1, because we have the point negative 1, comma, blank, right? So I'm going to write it out. Y equals negative 3 times a negative 1 plus a 2. Let's see, negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 3. Positive 3 plus 2 is the number 5. Okay? That one is 5. So let's see if we can plot these 3 points. So look at the first one here. The first one is 0, 2. So 0, 2 means let's not go to the left or right. Let's just go up to 2. Okay. The second one says 1 and negative 1. So I'm going to go 1 to the right, and then I'm going to go 1 down. Okay. And then the last one is negative 1, comma 5. So I'm going to go 1 to the left and up 5. Okay. And again, guys, I'm going to try to draw my line. So just up pretty. Maybe not as pretty as the one before, but it's okay. And there we go. Okay. Now, guys, the whole idea here is that the 3 points that we plot should be lining up. If one of those points is off, that just tells me that I made a mistake, and where my mistake would be somewhere either here, here, or there. I don't know which one it could be. Maybe I made more than one mistake, but the idea is they should all line up. If they don't line up, that means we made a mistake somewhere. And typically what I say to do is erase all this stuff right here, erase everything there, and start all over again, okay? It's too hard a lot of times to find the little mistake because you're having to go through so much part of it, okay? So let me go ahead and keep scrolling here and see what we got for the next one. Okay, same type of problem, okay? Almost identical to the one we did before. What was the one we did before? Negative 3x plus 2. Oh, we got the same one twice. Okay, so I'm going to skip that one, guys, because it looks like I just copied it twice. Negative 3x plus 2, negative 3x plus 2. Okay, that's okay. Let's try this one here. So what I like about this problem, you may not like it, but what I like about this problem is that there is a fraction, and why I say I like it is, I know we don't like fractions, but I'm going to show you how to make it to where you don't have to worry about the fraction so much, okay? So remember, we're going to pick any 3 points for x, right? And we said we could pick any numbers we want, okay? So the easy number that's always going to work, guys, is 0, okay? Now, because I have a fraction here, I want you to think of the idea, or I want you to think of that number 2/3. Let me do it again. Just trying to circle the 2/3 without covering too much up. All right. Remember what happens when I'm plugging in a number for x. Suppose I plug in the number, I don't know, I'm going to make it up. Suppose I plug in the number 6. What that means I'm going to do, I'm going to take 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is going to be 12. And I'm going to take 12 and I'm going to divide it by 3, which would give me 4. So I would end up with a whole number here, okay? What I want to do, guys, I want to pick numbers because whatever number I pick for x, I'm going to multiply by 2, but then I have to divide it by 3. So to make sure that my numbers are going to come out nice and pretty, let's pick numbers that we can divide by 3. How about if we pick 3 and negative 3? We could pick 6, 2. 6 would just mean I'm going to go a little further out. That's okay. I could pick 6 if I want to, or negative 6 if I want to. I probably wouldn't pick 12 because it would be all the way out here. Okay? So now look, we're going to go through in pieces. We're going to do part A. So part A, we have this part, 0, comma, blank. All that tells me is that x is 0. So look, when we plug in the first number, y equals 2/3 times 0 plus 2. Okay. Remember, 2/3 times 0 is still 0. And 0 plus 2 is equal to 2. So that's telling me right here you're going to write a 2. Right here we're going to write a 2. Okay. Now look, when we do part B, we have the point 3, comma, blank, right? That just tells me that my x number is 3. So look, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this part here. Y equals 2/3. Now remember, the number that I'm plugging in is the number 3. But I'm going to write that 3, guys, as 3 over 1. Okay, plus 2. And I'm just going to go straight across. So 2 times 3, 6. 3 times 1, 3. Okay, plus 2. Let's keep going. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 2 plus 2 is 4. So notice, even though we had a fraction, we came up with a nice, pretty number like 4. So I'm going to put 4 right there. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this a third time. Okay. So my third time, my x number, let me write it the way I wrote the other ones. Okay. So we're putting a negative 3, comma, blank. So that's to tell me that my x number is the number negative 3. So I'm going to write it out just like I did the other one. 2 over 3. But now when I plug in my number negative 3, I'm going to write it as negative 3 over 1. Okay. Plus 2. So let's multiply straight across. 2 times negative 3, negative 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay. Plus 2. Negative 6 divided by 3 is the number negative 2. Negative 2 plus 2 is a 0. So that number is going to be a 0, and that number is going to be a 0. Okay. So now let's go ahead and plot our points. 0, 2. Remember, 0, 2 means from the middle, stay there, then go up to 2. Okay. 3, 4 means go to the right 3, and then go up to 4, right there. And then negative 3, 0 means go 3 to the left, and parte aquí. And again, guys, if I draw my line, oh, mira que pretty, comes out nice and neat. And there's the graph of our line, okay? So when you have a fraction, just to make sure we all understand, okay? When you have a fraction, whatever your bottom number is, take numbers that you can divide by that, okay? So if that bottom number would have been a 5, I would have taken numbers like 5 or -5, okay? If I would have had a 1/4, I would have taken like 4 and -4 for my x. The one x number you can always pick, guys, regardless if you have fractions or not, is 0. Okay? And that one will always work, and it's an easy one usually to plug in. Okay? All right. So the next part here in 7.2 talks about these things called x-intercepts and y-intercepts, okay? The x-intercept is just a point where the graph crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is just a point where the graph crosses the y-axis, okay? So think about it this way. Here's my x-axis, right? The x-intercept. All the x-intercept is can we label that point? Okay, it's going to be a point. So notice, if I was looking for the coordinates of this point, remember guys, I always start in the middle. I would go to the left, -4. Because we're not going up and down, the y number is going to be 0. Okay? Then if we were going to find, say, the y-intercept, okay, the y-intercept is going to be on this line. So the y-intercept is this red point right here. So remember, the way we find our points is we always go to left to right first. But we didn't move to the left to right first. So we had a 0, and then the y number was the number 3. So there's my x-intercept and there's my y-intercept. So that's all I'm really looking for, okay? So let's do the same thing here for this problem, okay? Let's first find the x-intercept. That means where does it hit the x-axis? Well, if we notice, we hit it twice, here and here. So for the x-intercept, there's actually going to be 2 of them, okay? So if I were to look at this one here, I'd say we're going to go -2, and then since we stay there, it's going to be 0. This one is going to be +2, and since we stay there, it's going to be 0. Okay. And then to find our y-intercept, the y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis, okay? Well, it hits the y-axis down here, and the coordinates of that one, notice, we always go left to right first. Well, I'm not going to the left to right if I'm trying to get to that point, so that's going to be 0. Second number will be a -2. Okay. So, one thing I want you to notice, in the x-intercept, see if I can get a better, let's try the highlighter. In the x-intercept, I want you to notice something. The second number, the y is 0, right? Isn't the same thing here, the y is 0 and the y is 0? And then, let's go with, well, let's go pink. Well, maybe not pink because I'm using red. Let's go blue. And in the y-intercept, look at the first number. The first number is 0, right? And the y-intercept here, the first number was 0, okay? So the reason I'm telling you that is what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to plot by finding the intercepts, okay? Here, guys, instead of us picking 3 points, we're only going to pick 2. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do this part right now. So one of the points is going to look like this, 0, blank. The other point's going to look like this, blank, 0, okay? So look, how about if I call this my part A, call that my part B, okay? So look, let's do it just like we did the other ones, okay? 0, blank. Remember what that means. That means that the x number is 0, okay? So I'm going to come back to this equation that I have right here, okay? Where the x used to be, notice what's in front of the x right now. There's a negative. So I can think about that if I really want to as a number -1, okay, times my x number, which is 0, plus 2y equals 6, okay? Well, -1 times 0 is 0. That piece just goes away. So I'm left with 2y equals 6. So when I divide both sides by 2, we come up with y is equal to 3. So this number is a 3, and that number is a 3. That doesn't look like a pretty 3. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay? Now, let's do part B. Okay? So in part B, look at the point we have. We have a blank here, and then a 0. So remember, if there's a blank here, that's telling me that the letter y is 0. Okay? So I'm going to go -x plus 2 times 0 is equal to 6. So -x, 2 times 0, guys, is a 0. Is equal to 6. Okay? Again, if it helps, think about the number in front of that x being the number -1. So now, when I divide both sides by -1, what that tells me is 6 divided by -1 is a -6. So there's a -6 here and a -6 there. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot my 2 points. The first point I have is the point 0,3, which is this one right here. Second point I have is -6,0. So look, guys, so that's -5. This one here is -6, 0. And again, I'm going to draw my line. And we found the point where those 2 lines meet, right? Okay, so let's take a look and see if we can do the same thing for the next one, all right? All right, so let's see if we can do the same thing here on the next one. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay, we're going to go about it the same exact way. So I'm going to find 2 points. The first one is going to look like this. That'll be my part A. My part B will look like that. Okay. All right, so let's do our part A. Part A, if I have this part here, that's just telling me that the x number is 0. This is the equation I'm looking at. So I'm going to write 0 minus 2y equals 4. Well, 0 minus 2y is a -2y equals 4. When we divide both sides by a -2, I end up with y equals -2. So right here, guys, I'm going to put a -2, and right here I'm going to put a -2. Okay. I'm going to do this all over again, part B. Part B, we have a blank first and then a 0. Again, just a quick reminder, that tells me that y is 0, right? Not the x, but the y. So I'm going to write out my problem. X minus 2 times 0 equals 4. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, equals 4. X minus 0, still x, right, equals 4. There we go. So I'm going to come back over here, guys. I'm going to put a 4 right there. Put a 4 right there. Okay. So let's see if we can find the point 0 and -2. So the point 0 and -2 would actually be this point right here. And the point 4 and 0 would be that point right there. And we can draw our line. And we got it. Okay. All right, so let me keep scrolling here, see what else we got. Oh, we got horizontal and vertical lines. Okay. So give me 1 second. All right, so guys, the next part is horizontal and vertical lines. Let me just scroll up a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so one thing I want you to keep in mind, horizontal line, guys, always go to the left and to the right. Okay. And horizontal lines are always going to be in this form. Y equals some number. Y equals 2, y equals 7, y equals -8. Okay? So take a look here. It says y equals 5. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here to 5. I'm going to put a point right there. Okay? Guys, because my line is going to be horizontal, that means my line is going to go left and right. If you're doing this on my math lab, what I want you to do is I want you to click that point there. Make sure you pick the little line function. I'm going to say your little line function looks something like that. Pick a little line function. Okay, click your first point here. Then you can move either to the right or you can move to the left. It really doesn't matter which way you go as long as you're going straight, right? Don't go down a little bit, don't go up a little bit. It needs to be exactly horizontal. Pick another point. Your line should automatically appear. And there's my horizontal line. Where does it cross at? It crosses at 5. Okay, that's what horizontal lines look like. Okay. Now, guys, I want to point something out. Sometimes in your homework, you might have an equation that looks like this, and it's going to tell you graph the line. 2y minus 8 equals 0. Okay, look at what letter this is solved for. That's solved for y, right? So the first thing I might say is, oh look, let me go add 8 to both sides, right? So 2y equals 8. Let me divide both sides by 2. Now I come up with y equals 4. So doesn't this here look very similar to that? And the only thing I would do is I would do it at 4, and then I would go either to the left or the right. It doesn't really matter, right? Pick, that's your first point. Pick another point. Boom. your line's going to go straight across as well, right? Because the equation is solved for y. All right. Now, let's go to the next part here. Vertical lines. Guys, vertical lines go straight up and down, okay? So look what it says. Graph the line x equals -1. So I'm going to go to when x is equal to -1. Okay? Guys, since that line is going to be a vertical line, it's going to go up and down. So again, on my math lab, the first thing you want to do, pick your little line function, select that point, and then you can either go up or you can go down. It doesn't really matter what you do, because once you do that, your line should appear. Okay? And there you go, right? And just like I was saying earlier, you might end up with a problem that looks like this. 3x is equal to 12, and it's telling you to graph the line. You would divide both sides by 3. You would come up with x equals 4. And then you might say, oh, look, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and pick my line function. I'm going to go to 4, and then I'll either go up or I'll go down. It doesn't really matter because my line just needs to be vertical. And then your line would look something like that, right? Okay. So the last part that we have here in 7.2 is a word problem, and it says, let's see, the number of calories burned by an average person while cross-country skiing is given by the equation. They give us an equation right here, okay? It says m is the number of minutes, okay? And let's take a look at what it says. So we're going to do this a couple of times because it says, graph the equation for m equals 0, 15, 30, 45, 60, and 75. Okay. So look, guys, we're going to do this in pieces. So the first thing I'm going to write down c equals 8 times m. Okay? And I'm going to make a little table here, okay? So I'm going to go like this. Here's my m value. Here's my c value, okay? So look what it says. The first time we're going to do this when m is 0. We're going to do this again at m is 15. We're going to do this again at m is 30. At 45. At 60. And I think one more, yep, at 75, okay? Notice what the equation is. It says we're going to take 8 times whatever m is, okay? So let's think about it. 8 times 0, well, I know that's 0, right? Okay. Look at the next one. We go 8 times what? 15. So look, guys, first thing I'm going to do, grab my calculator. 8 times 15, 120, okay? So let me grab my pen. So right here, I'm going to type in the number 120, okay? Let me do this again. We're going to go 8 times 30, 240. Okay. Then we're going to go 8 times 45, 360. Okay. We're going to do this 2 more times. 8 times, what, 60? 480. And 8 times 75? 600. Okay, so guys, all I'm going to do, I'm going to start plotting my points. Look, here's my M's, right? And here's my C's, okay? So the first one is 0, 0. Wouldn't we just stay right there? Like if we don't cross-country ski at all, if we do it for 0 minutes, we're going to burn 0 calories, okay? The next one is at 15, 120. So look, guys, here's 100, here's 200. 150 would be in the middle, so maybe just a little lower than the middle, 120. Again, I'm eyeballing it, right? 30 should be at 240, so maybe kind of, I don't know, a little bit less than halfway. 45 should be at 360, maybe a little more than halfway. 60 should be at 480, so almost at 500. And 75 should be right at 600, okay? It says graph the equation, so again, you know, we could sort of plot our points, and there it is, right? The more time you spend cross-country skiing, the more calories you burn. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's see, this one here. Let's take a look at what we have. It says the number of foreign students enrolled in college in the United States can be approximated by the equation. Okay, they give me an equation there. S equals 11t plus 395, where t stands for the number of years since 1990. Okay, and S is the number of foreign students in thousands. Okay, so look what it's telling us to do. Let's graph the equation, and it gives me some t values. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to write out the equation. 11 times t plus 395. Okay, And just like we did earlier, guys, I'm going to make a little table. Okay. So look, it says let's do it when t is 0. Let's do it when t is 4. Let's do it when t is 8. And let's do it when t is 16. Okay. So I want you to think about this for a minute. Look what we're going to do. Everywhere I have the letter t, I'm going to plug in the number 0. So what's 11 times 0? Well, we know 11 times 0 is 0. And then 0 plus 395, wouldn't that still be 395? Okay. So now look, let's do it again the second time. I'm going to use my calculator here. Okay. So let me clear this out. I'm going to take 11 times 4. So 11 times 4, 44, right? We knew that. Plus 395. I'm coming up with 439, so that's going to be the number that I'm going to write right here, 439. Okay. I'm going to do this again on my calculator. I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to go, what's 11 times 8? Should be 88, voila. Okay. Plus 395, 483. So that's the number that I'm going to write right here, 483. Okay. And let's do this one last time. We're going to clear it out. We're going to go, what's 11 times 16, right? 16 is 176. Plus, we're going to go 395, 571. Okay. 571. Okay. Now, let's see if we can plot those points. So the first one is, when t is 0, the s number is 495. Well, 400 or 395 isn't 395. I mean, that's just almost right at 400. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to go to t equals 4. So here's t equals 4. 439, pretty much 440 right there. Okay. When t equals 8, 483. Well, look, here's 480. So we're pretty much right there. And at 16, we're going to go to 571. So look, if this is 560, 571 should just be a little bit higher. And we got our line. Okay. Anywho, that is section 7.2.